Hi everybody, it's Kim from Inside My Money, and on this channel we show people how to use HomeBank, which is a free money management system, and then we also help you understand how to take that information in HomeBank and use it to make more practical, better decisions with your money. So HomeBank is a tracking system, so you put your information in from your online banking and then you can categorize it and you can see where all your money's going. So last month we looked at big bills and how to deal with those big one-off bills that happen throughout the year because they can throw your savings a bit out of whack. And so I will put a link to those videos in the comments below. But this month we're talking about discretionary spending. So that's in terms of our eating out, our groceries, hobbies, memberships, all those things where we can start to spend more than what we really want. And we keep telling ourselves that we won't spend too much, but unfortunately it's just quite easy to spend more sometimes. So why are we looking at discretionary spending and things like eating out and groceries? Well, because if we want to have more control over where our money's going, then we want to understand what our habits are. Now, with bills like rent and power and phone, there's no habit. We just have to pay the bill. We can reduce the power that we use and try and find cheaper options. But at the end of the day, the bill is what it is and we just have to pay it. But with eating out and groceries and hobbies and personal care and other things like that, that's when our habits and our behaviours come into play. And that's where we have some control and we can say, hey, I actually want to try and, save money. How can I reduce the amount that I'm spending on eating out? Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to not drink your cups of coffee because one cup of coffee is not going to make a huge difference to your savings. But what I am going to do is challenge you to look at what your habits are around some of these bills, around some of these costs. So for instance, when I look at my spending around eating out, I find that I always spend more when I'm bored or I'm tired. Now, I have pretty good willpower. I can say no at the best of times. No, I'm not going to spend that money. But sometimes just get really tired and I just think, oh, tough, I'm just going to go and buy lunch. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's just when that happens all the time that it becomes a problem. Now, when it comes to trying to control that spending, having willpower isn't actually enough. Because at the times when we spend more than we really want to, it's when we're tired and we don't have the energy. Willpower requires energy. And if you don't have the energy to say no, because you've had a hard day or a long week or something's gone wrong, then willpower is not going to solve that problem. But what is going to is if you've got a good strategy and you've got a better environment. So think of it like this. If you have a fridge in your kitchen, you're trying to lose weight and be healthy. If it's full of chocolate and cake and all the really great yummy stuff, and that's all you ever see, you're not going to have a very good chance of losing weight because it's right there and you're just going to eat it. Whereas if your fridge is full of nutritious food that you can just grab and eat, and it's an easy option to grab that nutritious food, then you'll take it. You don't need willpower to be healthy because all you've got is an environment that helps you be healthy. So what we want to do is we want to help you create strategies and an environment that helps you save money, that helps you make the easy options around those discretionary type costs. But the first thing you've got to do is identify what they are and what the pattern of behaviour is around where that money's going. And HomeBank is perfect for this. So in this video, we're going to focus on identifying those costs and our habits. In the second video, we're going to use PowerQuery to bring that information into our new money dashboard. So if you're wanting to follow along and create a money dashboard, then video 2 is definitely a watch for you. And then at the end of the month, we're going to have a challenge. We always have a challenge at the end of each month. And that will ask you to look at your habits around something like groceries or eating out, which tends to be the two biggest ones for me, where spending can get out of hand. And I'll show you what I mean by that when we look at these at our characters here. So let's get into it. So this is Abby and Sam, and this is their money situation, all obviously fictitious. and they are renting, so they don't have a lot of house project type costs, but they do spend money on groceries and eating out. So when we go up to reports, we're going to go into statistics, and we're going to go into our default report, which we created in the last video. So again, have a look back at that. Bills, income, and spending. And when you create a default report, it automatically brings up that saved information. So we're going to take out the percentages, and we want to look at it as a time report, so month by month. We don't want the forecast, and we're going to take it just to the 28th of February. And that shows us a pattern of behaviour throughout from month by month. And when we filter, we can choose category, include, and let's shrink everything up and just choose things like clothing, eating out, entertainment, groceries, hobbies, and I think there's some personal care, which is things like haircuts and it depends on what you put under that. It might be the gym and various other things. And we'll go use, and that gives us just those discretionary costs that we want to track. So if we then we can look at this month by month, and we can say, okay, how are we tracking? Well, let's pick groceries. So the average is about $757 a month on groceries, but they've had a couple of quite big months. And so you can click on those months, and it will, as long as you've got this memo, this little book to give you the detail, you can click on a particular month and it will show you what's happened in that month. So on a good month, if we look at it, then you can see they're going to the supermarket. They're doing one major shop a week. Sometimes it's a bit smaller. And then they've got this ongoing fruit and veggie co-op that they belong to. So that's where that $15 is. So that's kind of what you'd say is their ideal month. So that's good. That's showing good habits. They've obviously done some planning, and they've got a grocery list, and they're sticking to it. And that's what I see when I look at this particular month and these habits. Now let's look at February, which is just the month just gone, and let's see what we see. Now we're looking at it going, okay, well, they've gone to the supermarket every couple of days there. Then the following week, they've gone to the supermarket nearly every day. Now, if we want to just look at just that month, we'll go in and go last month, and then we'll click on the time, but we'll change the interval to be week. And now we can see where things kind of went off the rails for them. And that's when it happened in the second week, when they went to the supermarket and take out those Wellington fruit and veggies. They went to the supermarket on the 12th, or the 13th, twice, the 14th, twice, actually 3 times. They went to the 3 different supermarkets on the 14th, and then they went again the next day, and then twice on that day. So their habits have kind of gone a little bit out the window. I would suspect this is because there's been not a lot of planning, and they've just gone into the supermarket, forgotten something, not had a list, oh, we have to get another thing another day, and then spent more than what they wanted when they've gone back. So this is a good way of just looking at your habits, and you can do the same thing with eating out and say, well, actually that was quite good. They only had Vietnamese on that day, on that week. And then the following week, they went to dinner, and then they went and had lunch probably somewhere, and then they did it again the following week. And so this is where we start to get spending creep. So if you have a look at this report, it gives you quite a lot of information about your habits, your behaviours, and where your money's going, so that you can then be empowered to make different decisions. So I'm going to leave it there, because the second video that we do, and I'll release it next week, is going to be, again, bringing this information into our new money dashboard. So I'll leave you to think about that. Have a go yourself, do your own statistics report, and see what your habits are looking like. And then join us for the next video next week. And then have a go at the challenge in a couple of weeks' time, and see if you can maybe create a different strategy around a couple of these things, and maybe give yourself a bit of a better environment to work in. So thanks for watching. If you've got any comments, or questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments section. I will answer all my comments, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week.